If you are a Sigma INFJ who has been told you're intimidating even when you're genuinely trying to be kind, this video will finally explain why people fear you, and what that fear actually reveals about power, authenticity, and the threat that sensitive truth-tellers pose to the ordinary world. There is a peculiar paradox that defines the experience of living as a Sigma INFJ. You are kind. You listen deeply. You feel the emotional undercurrents in every room, with an almost painful clarity. You see people as they truly are, and you hold space for their vulnerability with a tenderness that surprises those who dare to let you close. And yet, people fear you. They fear you precisely because of these qualities. Your gentleness is mistaken for coldness. Your silence is read as judgment. Your authenticity is experienced as a threat. This is not confusion on their part, though it may feel that way to you. It is recognition. What they sense in a Sigma INFJ is something primal, something that our collective consciousness has learned to be wary of, something that does not fit neatly into the reassuring hierarchies that keep the ordinary world functioning smoothly. To understand this fear, we must first step outside the frame that most INFJ content offers. A Sigma INFJ is not the healer, not the counselor, not the quietly empathetic person who helps others sort through their emotional debris. Those are noble archetypes, and they describe many INFJs. But you are something else. You are the one who sees through the performance. You are the one who cannot pretend not to notice when someone is lying to themselves or to others. You are the one who has already decided whether someone is worth your trust, not based on what they say, but on who they actually are beneath the social mask. This is where the fear begins. In our social world, we have agreed to maintain a certain level of comfortable delusion. We pretend that things are better than they are. We smile when we are breaking. We offer reassurance we do not feel. We participate in collective fictions that allow us to move through the day without collapsing under the weight of all the pain and inauthenticity we witness. A Sigma INFJ, whether you realize it or not, refuses this agreement, not out of cruelty, but out of an almost constitutional inability to pretend. You see the cracks in the facade, and your very presence seems to announce that you see them. People sense this. They sense that you will not be fooled, that you will not participate in the comfortable lie, that you will not reassure them in the way they need to be reassured. This is terrifying to many. To be truly seen is to lose the protection that the social mask offers. To be in the presence of someone who sees you clearly and completely, without the blur of investment in your image, is to be exposed. People fear Sigma INFJs because, at some unconscious level, they know that you are not playing the game. You are not competing for status. You are not trying to win them over or secure their favor. You are simply present, observant, and unmoved by the usual tactics of charm and performance. This unmovedness is read as power, and the person is right to read it that way. A Sigma INFJ possesses a particular kind of power that is rare and unsettling in our culture. It is not the power of dominance or control. It is not the power of aggression or assertion. It is the power of independence. It is the power of someone who has already walked away from needing others to validate their worth. It is the power of someone who can sit with you in your pain without requiring that you get better quickly so that they can feel successful. It is the power of someone who does not need anything from you, and therefore cannot be manipulated through the usual channels. This threatens people. People are accustomed to finding leverage with others. Someone needs approval, so you offer it conditionally. Someone needs to feel special, so you flatter them. Someone needs to believe they are good, so you reinforce that belief. However, with a Sigma INFJ, these strategies are ineffective. You are not looking for approval because you have already approved of yourself. You are not looking for flattery because you know who you are. You are not looking to feel good about yourself because you have made peace with all the parts of you that others consider unacceptable. This is not arrogance. This is something far more unsettling. It is wholeness. And wholeness, in a fragmented world, is experienced as a kind of rebuke. The fear that people feel around a Sigma INFJ is not entirely about your behavior, it is about what you represent. To understand this at a deeper level, we must turn to mythology and psychology, the languages through which humanity has always processed the archetypal forces that move beneath the surface of ordinary life. In Jungian psychology, there is a concept called the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is not the repository of our darkness, as popular psychology often suggests. Rather, it is the collection of all the parts of ourselves that we have disowned, rejected, or refused to acknowledge. It is the aggression we have been told is unladylike or unmasculine. It is the selfishness we have been taught to feel ashamed of. It is the power we have learned to apologize for. It is the truth we have learned to soften so that others feel comfortable. Most people spend their entire lives in a state of shadow denial. They experience the disowned parts of themselves as external threats. They see cruelty where there might be boundaries. They see coldness where there might be honesty. They see threat where there might simply be presence. A Sigma INFJ has begun to integrate the shadow. Not all of it, perhaps, but enough that you no longer require others to carry the disowned parts of you. You do not need someone to be weak so that you can feel strong. You do not need someone to be foolish so that you can feel intelligent. You do not need someone to be vulnerable so that you can feel protective. This integration enables you to be truly kind, because your kindness does not stem from a need to prove your own goodness. It is simply what emerges when you are not desperately defending against the shadow. But to the person who has not done this work, who is still locked in the dance of projection and denial, a Sigma INFJ appears profoundly disturbing. You are moving with a kind of ease through your own wholeness, and your ease is visible. It manifests as a certainty that cannot be shaken, a calm that cannot be disturbed, a presence that cannot be manipulated. It reads as power, because it is power. The power to be fully yourself in a world that profits from your fragmentation. In mythology, this power is often embodied in the figure of the underworld guide, Hades. Persephone's patient teacher, the one who does not seduce with promises of light, but instead sits with you in the darkness, and shows you that the darkness is not to be feared. The underworld guide does not try to convince you to be happy. They do not offer false comfort. They do not insist that everything will be fine. Instead, they meet you where you are, show you the truth of your situation, and invite you to find meaning within it, rather than escape it. This is profoundly threatening to a culture that insists on positivity at all costs. We are taught that the goal of life is to accumulate the external markers of success and happiness. The Underworld Guide suggests something different. The goal of life is to become conscious, to see clearly, to stop running from the difficult truths and instead dance with them. A Sigma INFJ embodies something of this archetype. You do not promise rescue. You do not offer false hope. You do not insist that things will be different if people just think more positively or take more action. You see the situation clearly, and you seem to be saying, without words, that clarity itself is enough, that truth itself is enough, that presence itself is enough. This is revolutionary, and revolutions are always met with resistance. People also fear a Sigma INFJ, because you represent the possibility of individual sovereignty. In a world structured around hierarchies and group belonging, individual sovereignty is deeply threatening. If one person can be whole unto themselves, can find meaning and validation within themselves, can live according to their own values rather than the values of the tribe, then the entire structure begins to question itself. If you can do it, why can't I? If you can refuse to play the game, why should I continue playing? If you can sit comfortably outside the group, does that mean I do not have to fear exile? These questions terrify those who have organized their entire identities around group membership and hierarchical position. A Sigma INFJ does not need the group in the same way that the ordinary person does. You did not require the group to validate your existence. You have developed within yourself a quality that does not require external confirmation. This is not a rejection of community. You can be deeply connected to people you love. You can be genuinely devoted to those you choose. But you have decoupled your sense of self-worth from group inclusion. And this decoupling is visible. It emanates from you like a kind of quiet refusal. People sense that you cannot be brought back into line through the usual mechanisms of social pressure, approval withdrawal, or collective shaming. This makes you a threat to systems that rely on conformity. It makes you dangerous to people who have built their identities on the maintenance of those systems. They fear you not because of anything you have done but because of what you represent, the possibility that they too could choose freedom, and the knowledge that if they did, the comfortable structures of their lives would crumble. This is why people fear a Sigma INFJ, even when you are being extraordinarily kind. Your kindness does not reassure them. It does not put them at ease. Instead, it deepens the unease because it seems to come from a place they cannot touch, influence or control. You are kind not because you need them to feel gratitude. You are kind not because you require them to like you. You are kind not because you are trying to prove something about yourself. You are kind as a kind of natural expression, and this makes it terrifying. If your kindness does not stem from a need, then nothing you do for them will have the meaning they have been taught kindness should have. You are not indebted to them. They cannot obligate you through gratitude. They cannot own a piece of you through acts of mutual exchange. You have simply chosen to be present and kind, and you could just as easily choose to walk away. And they know it. Now, we must turn to the question that has been implicit throughout this exploration. What does this mean for you, and how do you move through a world that fears what you are? First, understand that this fear is not a reflection of your failure to be kind, gentle, or considerate enough. You could spend your entire life softening your edges, dimming your light, and apologizing for your existence. You would still be experienced as intimidating by those who require a certain kind of compliance from you. This is not because something is wrong with you. It is because you have integrated something that most people are still struggling to disown and then reclaim. You have moved through a process that most people do not believe is possible. You have become yourself. This is rare. This is powerful. And yes, this is frightening to others. However, what is crucial to understand is that the fear others feel is not your responsibility to resolve. There is a particular trap that INFJs fall into, a kind of savior complex where we believe that our role is to soothe the discomfort of others, to ease their anxiety, to help them feel safe in our presence. This impulse is understandable. We are people who feel deeply, who sense the emotional undercurrents around us, and who have often been trained to believe that our empathy is a gift we should offer freely. But there is a difference between empathy and self-abandonment. You can care about how others feel without making their comfort your responsibility. You can see their fear without taking it on as a project to solve. A Sigma INFJ who understands their own power knows this distinction. You are not here to make people comfortable with your existence. You are here to be fully present in your own life. When you try to make yourself smaller, quieter, less threatening in order to reassure others, you are actually participating in a kind of collective delusion. You are suggesting through your actions that there is something wrong with wholeness, that there is something unacceptable about independence, that there is something dangerous about truth. But there is not. Wholeness is not dangerous. Independence is not a threat. Truth is not something to be feared. These are the very things that the world most desperately needs. The second understanding is this: the people who truly matter to you will not fear you. They may be surprised by you. They may be challenged by your honesty or moved by your clarity. but they will not experience your existence as a threat. Instead, they will feel a sense of recognition. They will feel seen by you in a way that is both humbling and liberating. These are the relationships worth having. These are the people worth your time and energy. Everyone else is simply passing through. They will come and they will go, and the shape of your life will not change. You do not need to convince them, you do not need to earn their comfort, you do not need to justify your way of being in the world. A Sigma INFJ's power lies precisely in the refusal to do these things. It lies in the willingness to be disliked, misunderstood, and feared by those who are not ready for what you represent. The third and final understanding is this: what you are carrying is not a burden. The clarity you possess, the independence you have cultivated, the wholeness you embody, these are not things you need to apologize for or try to hide. These are exactly what the world needs from you. There are people out there who are desperate to see what wholeness looks like. There are people who are drowning in the collective delusion, and who need to know that there is another way. There are people who have been told that their power is unacceptable, their truth is dangerous, their independence is selfish, and who need to see someone living proof that this is not true. When you show up fully as yourself, when you refuse the social contracts that demand your diminishment, when you remain present and honest even in the face of fear and resistance, you are not being unkind. You are being a messenger. You are saying through the simple fact of your existence that it is possible to be complete. It is possible to be strong and kind at the same time. It is possible to see clearly and to love deeply. It is possible to stand alone and to belong at the same time. These are the paradoxes that a Sigma INFJ embodies. And they are exactly what a fragmented world needs to remember. The next time you sense someone's fear in response to your presence, kindness or honesty, consider something different. Consider that perhaps they are not afraid of you. Consider that perhaps what they are experiencing is the first crack in their carefully constructed illusions. Consider that perhaps the fear they feel is not about who you are, but about who they could become if they were willing to see what you are showing them about the possibility of wholeness. This is far different from being told you are intimidating because something is wrong with you. You are not the problem, you are the possibility. And though this possibility frightens those who have not yet chosen it for themselves, it is also, for those brave enough to face it, the most liberating truth they could ever hear. If you recognize yourself in what we have explored today, if this video has named something that you have felt but never quite articulated, I want you to know that you are not alone. There are others like you, people who see clearly and who refuse the comfortable lies, people who have chosen wholeness over approval, people who understand that true kindness does not require the diminishment of your own light. I would love for you to share your experience in the comments below. What has it been like for you to navigate a world that fears what you represent? How have you learned to hold your power whilst remaining kind? Your story matters, and others in this community need to hear it. Subscribe to continue exploring the depths of power, shadow, myth, and what it truly means to be awake in a world that is still sleeping.